So you're thinking about moving to Memphis or the Mid-South. Well, in today's video, we are going to the Germantown Festival. Follow me along as we look through a few vendors, talk about the history of Germantown, and show you some pros and cons about the place. And if you'll stick around to the end, I'll show you a little treat that I picked up at the Germantown Festival. You won't want to miss this one. All right, let's get to Germantown. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living in Memphis in the Mid-South, then subscribe below and tap the bell for all the notifications so you'll be the first to know everything there is about living in Memphis in the Mid-South. I'm Amy Clark with Crylike Realtors. I get calls every day from people just like you needing to move to the Mid-South. Whether it's in 9 days or 9 weeks or 9 months, I'll be happy to help you make that move as smooth as possible. Now let's take a closer look at the Germantown Festival. We're gonna have a lot of fun. We are at the 52nd annual Germantown Festival with arts and crafts, live entertainment, free parking, the running of the weenies, which is actually running of the dachshunds. Okay, it's hard for me to say the word dachshund because years ago a neighbor of mine said, do you see that dog? Is that your dash hound? And it was so funny. It's hard for us to say dachshund anymore. The running of the weenies. There's rides and food courts, games, car exhibits. The Germantown Civic Club on Poplar Pike is where the Germantown Annual Festival is held. And they host 400 local and regional artists that include jewelry, metalwork, artwork, photography, clothing, gardening stuff, soaps, face painting. Well, we went to 5 local vendors, and some of the vendors I thought were just absolutely outstanding. The first one is Hound Dog Apparel. Hound Dog Apparel is a local artist that takes articles from the 70s, 80s, and 90s and reproduces the logos of these businesses that have closed down. So it was really cool seeing all of her artwork and what she's done, and it just brings back some memories of me actually living in Germantown. So that was great. The second one was laser engraving, and they engraved wood, cutting boards, and glasses, those Stanley Cup type glasses, which I purchased one of them for a friend of mine. She's a nurse, and I got engraved on it, which you'll see in the video. I see naked people, hashtag nurse life. So it was pretty cute. Those guys were outstanding. And then a photography vendor who does local Memphis art. So he takes the photography and turns it into art. He's in downtown Memphis. His name is David Bunk Art, a reel-to-reel company at ilovememphisart.com. And he is right in the heart of downtown Memphis on G.E. Patterson Avenue. His rent's going up, so the landlord's giving him a little bit of time to stay in his building, which is, you know, I guess those things happen. Well, the fourth one that we saw was 901 Goats. And, you know, I know goats are all the rage right now, goat yoga and stuff. That's definitely not me, not doing goat yoga. But for $10 admission into this little caged area, well, little fenced off area, you could see kids, mostly little girls, running around, chasing the goats, putting hats on them, brushing them, cuddling with them, sitting on couches with them. It was pretty fun to see. But 901, why 901? Well, 901 is the area code here in town, and we also do 901 Day, which is September 1st, which is relevant for this time of year. So everything's all about 901, which is the area code for Memphis. And finally, we went to Katie's Kaleidoscope Kitchen. Katie's Kaleidoscope Kitchen and more. All right. It was the gourmet cupboard, and I bought some shrimp and crawfish cornbread from her. Okay, that was fun. So then we walked around and we saw a reenactment scene of like Civil War stuff, and this member of Fort Germantown, he was explaining about the fort and the railroad in Germantown and the significance of it during the Civil War. So the Union members, not Confederate, now I know we're in Memphis, but this is not defended by a rebel or Confederate area. It was defended by the North. It was defended by the Unions. And they feared a rebel attack, and the Unions established a picket line around Germantown, and Germantown was never affected or attacked by the Confederate soldiers. So that's Fort Germantown, and it's a museum right down the street from where we had the Germantown Festival this year. So Germantown was recognized as one of 48 cities in the United States as Tree Cities of the World. This is an organization, a program of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations and the Arbor Day Foundation. They're dedicated to urban forestry. And Germantown, really started becoming very residential in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. So they didn't cut down all the trees. They just let these trees grow. And there was a tree at my mom's house that was actually there, and when it was cut down, which it didn't need to be, but when it was cut down, it was over 200 years old. Of course, trees prevent erosion control, and trees will actually boost your property value by 7 to sometimes 20%. So Germantown has been recognized as a Tree City of the World for the past 5 years. So pros and cons, we're gonna talk about some pros and cons of Germantown specifically, and from when I grew up. So we actually have 4 seasons here, and you get a winter, not much of a winter, but you do get a winter, you get a fall, you get a dedicated spring, and of course you get a hot summer. Hundreds, between 90s and hundreds in the summer. 70s at night, and then in the winter we do get down to 32 sometimes. Like in February of 1994, I was working at Macaroni Grill, and as a college kid, and we all went out afterwards and ended up spending the night downtown in Midtown area, and then went to another friend's house. Well, we woke up in the morning and everything was freezing cold, everything was dark, and transformers were blowing up everywhere. It was the worst ice storm Memphis had ever seen. I remember the city being shut down for 2.5 weeks with ice. The radio stations were off the air. It was like a bomb exploded in our area. And being young and dumb, we drove all over town on ice, slid all over the place. Luckily, I didn't have any accidents, but my little brother was only 11 months old at the time, and after that, my mom installed a gas line into her wood-burning fireplace, and she was never cold again. So that was in February of '94, and later in 1994, there was a tornado that hit, and it caused $30 million in damage. And that doesn't sound like a lot compared to today's money, but when you are talking about a tornado driving through tree-lined suburbs like Collierville and Germantown, it killed 3 people, injured 22, 300 homes were destroyed and damaged. 300 homes were damaged and 22 were completely demolished. And that was the Sunday, November 27th, 1994, after Thanksgiving. And my little brother was 11 years old at the time, and one of his friends, Nicholas, was one of the young men that was killed. Him, his dad, and his uncle. Credit to the Germantown Historical Preservation Association for the tornado of '94 and the ice storm of 1994. 1994, a lot happened that year. The pros and cons about the weather. The weather's good. We do get snow at least once or twice. It'll last for a week or so. Every year or every other year, but it's not guaranteed. There's some years you can go for 5 years without any snow at all, just cold weather. We have to be more concerned here in the Memphis area about the icing. The icing is really dangerous. And the crime is pretty low in Germantown because of the police department, and you definitely don't want to speed through Germantown. Speeding and any little break-in or anything, the cops are on it right away. My mom accidentally called the police on her cell phone when she was bringing in groceries one day, and within 5 minutes they were demanding to know if she was okay. So they were at the house and they were demanding to know if she was okay. So there's no really public transportation in the Memphis area or Germantown area for that matter. We don't have subways, we don't have rail cars. There's a novelty rail car downtown. It actually was run by the bus station, and it's a trolley line, and it was just they just fired 200 people, so they're not they're not really doing that. And the bus lines are limited, and so when you live in this area of the country, you can be expected to have your teenagers needing to drive at 16 and needing to want cars and driving around at 16. You really need to have access to transportation. So the other thing about Memphis, Memphis is a working city. Memphis has lots of nationally accredited hospitals like St. Jude. They do research for children's cancer. And there's a FedEx, and the hub of FedEx is here. So our airport is running 24/7. And the air traffic here, it doesn't matter what part of the city you live in, you're gonna have airplanes flying over your house all the time. You get used to it. So it's not a destination city, it's a working city. We don't have beaches and, I guess the only destination part about Memphis happens twice a year, and that's during Elvis Week in January and Elvis Week in August. So his January is his birthday, and the anniversary of when he died is in August. There's some pros and cons to this area of the country, but we do have lots of festivals, food competitions, barbecue festivals. Memphis likes to put themselves above Texas barbecue, North Carolina barbecue, and especially Kansas City barbecue. So Memphis really has a fascination with competition on Memphis barbecue. And we have Shelby Farms Park. Shelby Farms Park is a really big park, and it's the largest open area dog park. So you could actually lose your dog in this dog area because it's several acres of open air dog park. And we have the Grizzlies, the Memphis Tigers, the Memphis Grizzlies, and the Showboats, and professional and college sports here in town. So those are some pros and cons about the area of Memphis and Germantown. Well, I hope you enjoyed going to the Germantown Festival with me today. I had a great time. But the one last thing I wanted to share with you is, if you've been watching my videos, you know that I've changed my background just a little bit, and this is what I got. This is from the local artist. It is a rendition of Everything Memphis, and that was David Bunk Art, a reel-to-reel company, and you can find his artwork at ilovememphisart.com. So, it's got Sun Studios, the Orpheum, the Peabody, the Lorraine Motel, very important, the Hard Rock Cafe, Stax Museum, rock and roll. Everything you need to know about Memphis is right there in the background with me. All right. Well, thanks. I hope you enjoyed my Germantown Festival.